Time for stream dreaming.
Welcome back to Stream Dreaming, everyone. I'm glad you're here. So today we're going to tackle an issue that has bothered me since day one in the Airstream Basecamp, and that is getting in and out of the storage compartment in the rear of the trailer. The big one in the rear dinette or under the bed. That big one where you put all the stuff that you use regularly. Now, if you're like me, everything that I travel with goes in the Basecamp. I don't put all of my gear in my tow vehicle. It goes in the Basecamp. If it doesn't fit in the Basecamp, it doesn't have a spot in my camping routine. So that rear storage area is critical for me, but it's a real pain to get in and out of. Fold the mattress cover over, pull up the cushions, fold back the plywood base, lift it up, and it did install some snaps so it doesn't come down and hit me in the head anymore. That was great, but you get your stuff out, then you gotta redo or undo what you just did to put the bed back. And then you gotta do it all over again when you forget something. Anyway, I just hated it. Really, truly. I wouldn't put stuff in there because I didn't want to go through the aggravation of getting it out. So things got a little cluttered. So we're gonna solve that today. And we're gonna solve that by removing those plywood pieces, the ones that fold, that support your bed, and replacing them with a sheet of Baltic birch plywood, hinged at the back and lifted by nitrogen struts. So all I have to do, well, let's just cut to the chase and I'll show you what it looks like.
All right, it starts with a sheet of Baltic birch plywood. In this case, it's a 1/2 inch thick and 60 inches by 60 inches. So it's just the perfect size. All I have to do is cut this tongue out. That's the square in the middle closest to me. That's the overhang at the back. And trim a little bit off the side here, about an inch, not quite an inch, to fit in the slot that Airstream has provided. So I'll mark that and then I'll cut it, and life is going to be real. Okay, I've learned a new trick here, and that is I can record over the sound effect, which will add great richness and depth to my videos as we go forward. I know it's a small thing, but it's the small things that keep me going. So I have to rip this little piece off of the edge here, and forgive me, the guide that I'm using there is only 48 inches, and this is a 60-inch piece of wood. So it's a little bit, well, it's just not quite right, like most things in my life. But it got the job done. So now I'm going to get the jigsaw out and cut these notches, or I have no idea what you call this. The cutout, cut off the corner. Anyway, notch the wood so that it'll fit into the slot for the mattress. Just a little zip zip here, and boom, we are just about done. Another little zip zip. By the way, I have gotten so much use out of this jigsaw. It's just crazy. All right, and the tape is just to minimize the splintering. Okay, peel the tape off, and then I'm going to hit it with this sander just to kind of round the edges and get any splinter or any little bits of wood that could give me a splinter. All right, now we got to take the existing supports off, and it's just a lot of screws. Simple. There are actually 2 hinges here, but I'm treating it as one and removing this. Get all those screws out, and then just pick them up. Easy peasy. I'll put those in my storage closet, just in case I ever decide to sell this and somebody wants to put it back the way it was. There, you can see my storage compartment. Okay, getting this sheet of plywood in there was a little bit of a mission, but I was able to do it by myself. So it couldn't have been too hard. And look, it fits. Happy day. Okay, we're ready for the next step. We need to support this across the middle there. Now in a previous video, I installed these aluminum slats to support the bed without the table. You notice the base and everything is gone. I've just removed it completely from the trailer. And it's worked great. It gave me that whole floor space there for storage or hauling things like my food prep table and my solar panels. So we're going to use those slats again with this setup. Okay, now the next step is to hinge the back side or the back door side of this wood. I got two 12-inch piano hinges from Amazon. They weren't expensive. They came with the screws. But when you mount these, you want to make sure that they are parallel with each other. And you want that hinge centered between the two sides. So that little bump there in the middle where the pin goes through, we want that right dead center between the whitewood and the new Baltic birch plywood. And we want them to be straight and again parallel with each other. So I'll drill a pilot hole, put a screw in, and then just repeat. Pilot hole, another screw. But I used this straight edge, the one that I used for cutting the board, to make sure that they're parallel. And it worked perfectly. And this is just a Bora brand saw guide or router guide, woodworking guide, straight edge. It's been pretty handy. I've used it quite a few times. And those clamps on the side allow you to grab a board that is less than 50 inches in width. If I'd have bought an 8-footer, it wouldn't have worked in here because I didn't have 8 feet to use. So it's been a good length for me. All right, once we get that attached, we can lift the plywood. Oh, look at that. Look how smooth that is. That's great. Now, notice that tongue goes down there in the back. Have to make sure that you don't have something stored underneath there that'll keep that from rising. Now, you can use a king-size bed, or if you have one of the custom-made beds that is essentially a king-size bed to go in the back, and you sleep with your head at the by the rear door or your head by the kitchen sink. It doesn't matter which. This will work, or this setup will work with that mattress just as well as it's going to work with the queen mattress that I'm going to put in that'll go from side to side. Now, previously, those aluminum slats fit in there and just stayed. I wanted kind of a compression fit. But now they have to come up and back, and they do it in a little bit of an arc. So I'm going to create a little more space here. Just widen these out, kind of flare them so that that slat, when I attach it to the wood like this, can move in and out of there freely. Just like that. That's what I want. Okay. Life is good again. All right, you'll notice that there's a gap there between the aluminum and the top of the side. That's an issue because previously they had to be that way to accommodate the plywood the way it was hinged from Airstream. So I'm going to put that cardboard in there just to lift that aluminum piece of aluminum up so that I can screw it into the board. And it'll work great. And then once I have it attached to the board, I will put a spacer between the aluminum and the where it rests on the side. But we're going to drill a hole, and then we're going to use these self-tapping screws to go through the wood and the aluminum. Beautiful. Notice I'm measuring, so I make sure that I get it in the right spot. Boom. By the way, me pointing is just me looking at the, there we go. Now I know it's on the video. Another trick that I learned. Okay, drill the hole, put in the screw, and then this one is done. Wahoo. Go on and do the rest. Easy. Just a matter of measuring and aiming the camera in the right place. There we go. Good, good, good. Okay. Looking great. Now let's see if it goes up and down. Boom. Chakalaka. Look at that. Just great. A little bit of sawdust in the storage compartment. Nothing that the Dyson can't handle. And hey, half of it's done. The hardest part actually is done. All right, you can see those little spacers that I put in there to build up the wall so that the aluminum is being supported by the wall. That'll give me a nice flat surface to sleep on, and it won't stress the wood. All right, here's a problem. I recorded the install of these struts on a video card that failed, so I don't have the video to share with you. So I'm going to walk you through it. So the first thing I did was I bought the 1/2 inch by 6 by 12 inch aluminum plate from Amazon. It was cheap. I'll put a link in the description and you can see it. Now, locating these struts, you could put them inside the boxes or outside. I chose to put them inside. Not sure why. I guess because I wanted a clean look on the outside. So take those struts and hold the deck up in place at the height you want it to be. And then mark the base of the strut, like I'm showing you right here. Mark that on the aluminum and drill your hole. You'll have to take the plate off and put the nut on the back side and then do a relief hole through the back side of that wood side so that the nut can fit in there. And then once you have that, you can put the bracket on the top of the strut there that I'm showing you there and locate it on the base panel for the bed. It's not that difficult. If you put it on the inside, you have to be careful of the fittings on that hot water heater. You have to make sure that you're going to clear that. You have plenty of room, but you can't have that strut at too steep of an angle or it won't clear. You could use a shorter strut, but that has some other complications. You might have to add a stiffener.
Okay, that's it. I'm sorry that that memory card failed and I lost the video of actually installing the nitrogen struts. Hopefully you get the idea though. It's not that hard. Take the strut, just put it into position. Visually figure it out. Okay, it's going to attach here, it's going to attach up here, and when it closes, I still have enough room for the strut to compact more fully, and it can extend all the way because that strut's going to extend as far as it can. Once you have that, everything else is simple. But you're going to have to figure it out. I don't have exact dimensions for you, and I'm not going to give them to you because you may be your Basecamp may be just a little different, or you may use it differently. You can mount those struts on the inside like I did, or you can mount them on the outside. It'd be much easier to mount them on the outside. Maybe those aluminum plates are a little bit of overkill. I don't know. But it seems to me that that strut has a lot of pressure. I mean, I couldn't compress it just using my body weight. So it made me a little nervous just putting a hole in the wood and bolting through that. I thought it would wobble and elongate that hole, and then I'd have a bigger mess. So I just went with the aluminum base plate. And they were cheap on Amazon. They came pre-cut, didn't have to do anything to them. Couldn't have been much easier. And then just mount them on the side, hold them with a clamp in place, drill your holes, mount your strut, and then line it up, figure out where it needs to go on the platform, the Baltic birch platform, and you got it. And you can see mine don't line up. Now, the engineer side of my brain wants to correct that, wants to get those more aligned so that instead of one side being down just a little bit, they're both perfectly even. Maybe on the day when I get really bored. But until then, it works just fine. So that tells you you have a lot of latitude with this. You can play with it. And those struts come in different lengths too. The worst case you'll have to do is put a stiffener in the, or on the bottom underside of that Baltic birch. In other words, you've got your platform here. If your strut is mounted clear here at the end, it can still lift it. Those have immense pushing power, but it's going to put a lot of pressure on there. That's why I put mine a little further toward the front to alleviate some of that pressure and make it just a little bit easier for those struts to lift it up. All right, I hope that makes sense. I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, thanks for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe. There's a lot more coming. Some gear reviews, some product comparisons, a little bit of cooking, all kinds of things coming up in the queue. All right, wherever you go, whatever you do, make it an adventure. Thanks for watching.